Hello, Mech Warriors. Are you considering building a medium mech for LRMs? Well, look no further. I've got a couple of really good choices and a total of 4 mechs to look over to get kind of the idea of what you're looking for. And one of the things you need to be looking at is the way they fire their missiles. Clan mechs and interspear mechs, those are the two choices essentially, fire their missiles very differently from each other. And between the two, there's kind of a misconception about them, and what I mean by that is Intersphere mechs fire all their missiles out of the tubes simultaneously. So as an example, if you had a single LRM 20, whether it was a clan or an Intersphere mech, they fire differently, and they have different features about them. Just because they have 20 missiles and they use the same 3 letters doesn't mean they're the same. As an example, on an Intersphere mech, the LRM 20 weighs 10 tons, but on a clan mech, it weighs 5 tons. Do you think it's just heavier because it needs to be heavier? That's actually not the case. It's a good thing, too, because it'd be really hard to sell that. They actually weigh more because they do more. First of all, it fires all the missiles out of the tubes simultaneously, which means all of the missiles are going to go downrange as a group, a cluster, like the way a 12-gauge shotgun works. When you shoot a 12-gauge shotgun, it doesn't hit individual pieces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 20. It just goes 20, and then another 20, and so on and so forth. And that's the way an Intersphere fires them. Also, they have a great indirect fire as well. So there's direct fire and indirect when it comes to LRMs. And you have a better velocity with direct fire, and you'll notice that if you're on the tunnel like HPG, Manifold, Crimson, Straight, or any one of the maps that has a tunnel feature, like Underground, that you'll notice that there's a direct fire and an indirect fire. Direct fire is typically regarded that you can see the mech that you're firing upon. Indirect fire, sometimes there might be an obstacle, or sometimes there might be like land movement or mass in front of you. And in the case of like a building or something, or a hill. Now with a Intersphere mech, they go much higher up in the air, which means that they have a better arc coming back to the ground. So when they fire them, all of them fire simultaneously, and then all of them land simultaneously. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to hit the intended target better, but it does create an interesting vortex. And what I mean by that is that if you're firing on a target, they have less chance of being able to shift away because the damage is going to strike their mech all over, and there's not a lot of ability to be able to get into cover and or twist and turn to spread the damage any more than the damage is going to be spread already. On a clan mech, on the other hand, it fires the missiles in a stream, kind of like the way a machine gun works. It's a cyclet rate. It typically fires 2 missiles, and then the remainder of the missiles are fired. So it's not uncommon to see a stream of missiles flying through the air, and if you see a solid stream of missiles that are flying through the air, you better find cover. Now, the benefit that the clan mech has is because it fires them in a stream, there's less heat associated. It's actually the same amount of heat, but what it is it's spread out. Instead of it all being at once, it's spread out over the course of the firing. They do have indirect fire, just like their Intersphere counterparts, but the big difference between them is that they weigh less and they produce less heat. So, with that in mind, I want to put this to you, that you could consider a standard LRM 20 on a clan mech to be about as much damage as an LRM 15 on an Intersphere mech is. Even though it's firing less weapon, it's actually going to get you a better possibility or a better chance of getting those weapons on target, because you get the great indirect fire where they come up over the top of a target better, with a better slant going down towards the target than the clan mechs do. And then there's also the fact that all the missiles are landing simultaneously. I did a video tutorial that explains all this and shows shots of an Intersphere and a clan mech firing on the same target, and you can see the arc through the target. So that's something to consider. Next to that, the way the mech is set up. Now, obviously, having the weapons in a higher mount, like you might find on a lot of clan mechs, is going to be much more worthwhile, and I'll tackle that a little bit more on heavy mechs as we go. But here we have a Dervish 7D. Now, we're not going to talk about the quirks or any of the special features that this mech has in common with other mechs, and or how this mech works in that regard, but we are going to talk about the fact that this mech does as much damage as its clan counterpart that I would consider to be the clan counterpart, which is the Hunchback 2C-B, and that is the clan mech. That one has 4 LRM-15s with Artemis, and about 5.5 tons of ammo, as I recall. This one has similar amounts of ammo, and they both have 2 energy points, and this one has 2 energy points, as I mentioned. But this one has 2 medium X-pulse lasers, which allows you to fire the energy weapons about every quarter of a second, which is really nice. Because even though they're not doing as much damage as 2 medium pulse lasers would do, it allows you to do the damage over the course of time. And it might be that cooldown period that you have to wait for that might be just enough to send that other guy into the coffin. It also might be that cooldown time you're waiting for that'll cause you to go into the coffin. So that's why I kind of lean towards it. I don't do it on all my inner sphere mechs, but I do it on a lot of my missile boat ones. So let's take a look at this guy. So this guy has 2 LRM-10s and 4 LRM-15s, and as I mentioned, it's got good defensive weapons, and that's really important. It's very important to have really good defensive weapons for your missile boat, because whether you're running LRMs, Thunderbolts, Streaks, if you're like that, you probably also have capri pants and a man bun, but also if you're running SRMs. You want to be able to have defensive weapons in between those types of fires. Now, if you're obviously running a full SRM build, you're probably not going to think much about lasers on it. It's just one of those things. But I ran this build this way, and I tried 4 LRM-10s, and it was good, but it wasn't as good as this is. This is much better. And the reason is the cooldown time. The cooldown time is 3.25 seconds on the LRM-5s. And I think it's like 3.7, is that right? Yeah, 3.7 on the LRM-10s, which is really nice. Which basically means is I can fire all these together, and then the next time they fire, the LRM-5s will fire next. But what I typically do is I just cycle them through, and by the time these fire, these are ready to fire. And there's like about maybe almost a half a second where I don't fire my weapons, and then all of them start firing again. So to the enemy, it actually looks like it's a solid stream of weapon coming down range, even though it's 5 firing, and then 10, and then 10, and then 5, and then 5. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the way it would be on a clan mech. So I've got 6 tons of ammo. That's another thing to consider. You need to have a proper amount of ammo for your ability to fire. Now, I know I'm going to be firing very often because I have a really good cooldown, so I need to have really good amounts of ammo. So I'm putting enough ammo in here that I would consider to be standard for 4 LRM-15s, which would be 60 shots. So I treat this as though, even though this is only 40 LRMs going down range, I treat it as though it's 60. And that's how I run it. I run the same amount of ammo on this mech that I run on my Marauder 2 4HP, which has 4 LRM-15s on it and does really good damage. This one is nice because it has a faster cooldown time, so I can actually put more weapon down range. That's the big deal about this. So we also have a heat management of 1.01, which is because I'm running medium X pulse lasers. If I was to put standard medium pulse lasers on here, or in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and throw ER mediums on here just for fun, and it's because of the clan Hunchback 2CB. So even though obviously I could figure out a way to get more usage out of this because I have 3 extra tons, maybe go with a bigger motor or something, I have a heat management of 1.33, a firepower of 50, and a speed of 66, which I could make go a lot faster if I was to go up to a bigger motor. So if I had this, I would have a speed of 78, still a firepower of 50, and a heat management of 1.39. Now I'm not going to do this because I like the way I have it set up, because I use it for other things. So let me reset this back. It's those medium X pulses lasers that I really enjoy having. So this is perfect to me. This is a good setup for me. So let's take a look at the counterpart. Now the counterpart to this guy I consider to be the Hunchback 2CB. And let's just take a look at this guy in the install bay. So we've got our weapons that are way up high compared to the ones that are kind of down low. Two of them are here. The LRM 10s are here and here on either side. But the 4 LRM 5s are down low, and then so are also the energy points. So as far as the mounting locations, I give the nod to the Hunchback because you could lose the arms and it's not the end of the world. It doesn't even affect your gameplay. Having the arms there is just nice, having a little defensive structure that takes some abuse versus the primary weapons. So this also has AMS on it and 4 LRM-15s with Artemis and then 2 ER mediums in the center torso. So this actually has more firepower than the other one, and yet the other one statistically in all my matches does better damage than this guy. And I've had this guy for years. I was a clan guy for the longest time. So once again, 4 LRM-15s with Artemis versus essentially 40 missiles on the other one. And this one has 60. This one has 6 tons of ammo, which is the same actually as the other one. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. It has 6 tons of ammo, and it has 2 ER medium lasers, and it has the AMS. Now let's just take that off for a second. So the heat management in this regard is pretty close to the same. It's very similar to the other one. But I put the AMS on there because, you know what, I didn't need any more ammo. 6 tons is more than enough. And the AMS on the Clan Mech only takes up 1 slot, whereas on Intersphere Mechs, everything takes more slots also. But part of it is because it's just slightly different. So let me reset this to saved. So the next thing here is you have really good weapon placement for defensive weapons. So even if they take a torso off and 2 arms, you're still in the match. Now this does have an XL engine versus the other mech having a light engine, which basically means that, is that actually right? They both have XL engines, my bad. They both have XL engines. But the benefit of the Clan Mech is the Clan Mech, in this regard, can lose a torso and it's not the end of the game. On the Intersphere, if you lose a torso, it is the end of the game. But it does also have really good armor in comparison. So this does have its really good weapons, and with Artemis, it makes it very, it makes it look like it's a better mech as far as being able to fire. But remember, the Intersphere mech's indirect fire makes it so you can actually get better hits on target. Even with this one having Artemis, the Intersphere still does it a little bit better. So this is another good choice. If you're going to pick a clan mech and you want a medium and you want to be able to fire missiles, SRMs, LRMs, ATMs, whatever you want to do with this, even streaks if you're that kind of guy, this works really well. This also has 4 double heat sinks on board, and it has a heat management of 1.22. So that's not too incredible, but it's what it is. And it does have more firepower, but once again, the cooldown on these is different. This has a cooldown of 4.3 seconds. The other one's worst is 3.7 seconds. And then the LRM-5s is even better than that. So this one, you can fire all 4 of these, and then you got to wait until you can fire them again. Now, if you were going head-to-head with that Dervish, the Dervish has weapons that can fire almost all the time, as far as the defensive weapons, and it also can fire the missiles more often. Now, as far as the ranges go, they're very similar as far as the overall ranges go. And they both have a bare minimum. The difference is on a clan mech, the bare minimum still does some small amount of damage, but not very much. Not very much. So that's one of the basic differences there. Now, there's another two mechs I wanted to show you. The other one is another hunchback, but this is an inner sphere mech. And I have another mech to go against this one, which is the Shadowcat. Now, if you have to make another choice for another great one, this is the Hunchback 4J. This has two LRM-15s with Artemis, and it has the capability of 6 energy weapons. I'm using 4 of them. So I've got 4 medium, or 4 small X-pulse lasers, and I'm only running 5 tons of ammo for 2 LRM-15s. Wait, that seems like a lot of ammo to have on board. You could use those for other things. You could scale these back and scale this back and add more energy weapons on there, or you could add AMS or a bunch of other things on there with all this extra ammo you got. Well, part of it is the quirks on this one, which we're not going to talk much about, but the quirks on this allows you to fire this much more often. Instead of having to wait 4 seconds to fire this LRM-15, and on the clan mech it's 4.3 seconds, as you remember. Instead of having to wait 4 seconds, you only have to wait 3 seconds on this one, because the cooldown on this is much better with the quirks that are on this. So you can fire these much more often, and it starts to feel after 2, maybe 3 volleys like you've got another LRM-15 on board. So this actually fires like and feels like you have 3 LRM-15s on here versus the 2. When I got this mech, I was skeptical. But I saw a couple of videos that a couple people put out, and they said this thing was amazing. And they're right. It's got good armor. It's got great defensive weapons. And when I first started scaling this thing up, I hated it. But I kept going with it because I was like, you know what? This is going to turn out. I'm going to really love this. And I kept thinking to myself, you know what? This thing is just terrible. It only has 2 things on here. I should make this into 2 SRM-6s or a couple MRM-10s. And then go full out with the energy weapons. Just go with like maybe 6 small pulse lasers or something. Just make this into a little brawler kind of thing, support brawler build. But I kept up with it, and I was really happy I did, and I've had some amazing matches with this. I think the best I've ever done was like a 740 or something in damage. And that's not bad considering that I only have 2 missile points. Now, if you want to take these and take them out of Artemis, you can do an LRM-15 and an LRM-20, and that will allow you to have more weapon downrange. But honestly, I tried it, and it just didn't do as well. Even though I got to fire it more often, fire it with more weapon downrange, which gave me more often more better damage. It didn't really work out that well because I lost that feature where I could fire these much more quickly. And it wasn't a bad deal, honestly, for it. And I've seen some people run it different ways. I tried doing it with 2 LRM-10s with Artemis and then doing 6 of the small X-pulse lasers. And that was fun, but it just didn't fit the same way for my playstyle. So there is another mech that does this, in my opinion, better. And it has less weapons. So the heat management on this with 6 energy points, or excuse me, 4 energy points, is 1.12 and 2 missile points. Firepower is 34 and speed is 81. As far as additional features, nothing really to talk about. It does have an XL engine, so you got to be careful with that. Lots of twisting, lots of torso work. You can see, based on the armor I have in the rear, I'm not too worried about it. I've got good situational awareness. And I'll talk about skills when I get to the end, because the skills on all these are pretty much the same. So, next and lastly, between these two, between the Hunchback 4J and the Shadowcat, the nod goes to the Shadowcat. Part of it comes down to the fact that the Shadowcat has its weapons all way up high. And that is a real big benefit. Not to mention, it doesn't have any lanky arms to make for easy targets like the other mechs do. This is what I refer to as a chicken mech. It's like a bird. Essentially, it's got wings and legs, and that's about it. and a center torso, I guess. So what really has going for this is all the weapons are at least in line with the cockpit or above. And that's how this really works out. Another thing that makes this special is this is the only one of the 4 that has mask, capable of ECM, which is a huge benefit, and it also has jump jets. So those 3 additional features are like extra weapons, or maybe extra armor is the way to look at it. So this has the same amount of weapons as far as long range capability as the Hunchback 4J, but it also has ECM, which makes me not invisible but near invisible at distance, and also makes it harder for people to target me and my friends as long as they're within my envelope. 4 tons of ammo for 2 LRM-15s seems excessive, but I've ran out before. I have ran out, and I've done some really amazing matches. The jump jets really makes it so you can get to a lot of places you normally wouldn't be able to get to. The mask means you can get in really fast into the good range. So the speed on this is 97. With the mask, it's 122 for about 8 or 9 seconds, I think it is, or like maybe 10 seconds. So you can take advantage of that, and then you got to let it cool down a little bit. So what I do is I like to supplement it when I'm going in to a match with hitting the mask until I get close and I'm going up a hill or something, and then I use the jump jets to go the rest of the way and then supplement them back and forth. And this allows you to be a little bit harder to target with people because you also have the ECM as well. So I've had some really amazing matches with this style of build. Heat management on this is 1.23, firepower is 42, and speed is 97. Now, between the 4, if you're going to choose one of these 4 for your best possible match, I would give the nod to the Dervish. The Dervish does everything just a little bit better, I feel like, than everybody else. Second place would probably go to the Shadowcat B. This is the Bravo, and it comes with a whole host of really cool features on board that makes it a really good fit. And so, like, if you look at the quirks on this guy here, you've got really good firepower features. You've got streak features, SRM features, energy cooldowns, energy heat, missile heat. You've got really good armor features and structure features. Really works out really well for you. And if you go over to the Shadowcat, you're going to find a plethora of features on this as well. You've got energy cooldown, which stacks on top, missile cooldown, heat. You've got some decent structure, which is what you expect on a clan mech. It's always not as good as it is on an Intersphere. But you also have torso yaw, deceleration, acceleration, and jump jet features. And the jump jets are locked down on this. Have no misunderstanding. You can't get rid of the jump jets. You can switch the legs out, but you're just going to find another mech that has jump jets because all Shadowcats have jump jets. So you can see the real big benefits that you have on this thing. You got a cooldown of 10 on the energy, missile cooldown of 10, acceleration, deceleration 10. You're getting XP bonuses. You know, there's a lot of really good features about these 2 mechs. And giving the nod between the 2, I would say that the Shadowcat is a little bit more friendly for novice players. But when it comes to just absolute raw dog beat downs, without changing any of the omnipods, because it's the only one also that has omnipods, between these 2 here, the Dervish is going to get the nod. The Dervish is a little bit tankier than these other 3 mechs as far as being able to take abuse and punishment. You can operate this with a light engine and still have really good matches. I've actually tried it. I did it with 6 SRM4s and then 2 medium X pulses and had a really good time doing that, but it just wasn't my play style. So, and that was with a light engine. And did I get put in the dirt? Of course I did. But between these, with this style of build setup, You're really going to have a really good time between them, and between the two, I give the Dervish the nod. I would go second place would be the Shadowcat because it's a little bit more friendly towards novice players. Next to that, then it would be the 4J for so many different obvious reasons. Mainly it's because the quirks that are on this really give the nod. And then this guy here, I feel like the Hunchback, because of the way it's built, is just a walking wall. It's like a target waiting to be shot at. It's got really big side torsos that are really easy to hit. The hitboxes are not very good on this mech. And so this is my least favorite of the four. But I still have really good matches all the time with all four of these mechs, and I'm really happy to drive them. And if you've seen some of my videos, you probably have seen that I've had some really stellar matches with these. Anyway, I hope this information was useful, and don't forget to check out my series I did on building a light mech LRM boat, and I've also got ones coming out for heavy and assaults the following weeks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep playing.